Hi, my name is Phil Seaver. I'm here with intern Ben Wallace, doing a series of videos about eminent domain, trying to educate Ben about it, about our practice and eminent domain, and also answer some questions landowners have. What is today's question, Ben?
Yeah. For what reason could the state take my property?
Oh, okay. Well, a lot of reasons they could take your property. So traditionally, governments, municipalities, power lines, pipelines are able to take your property for a public purpose. And public purpose could be a lot of different things. Some of the traditional ones are roads, right? Anytime you do a road, it's a public purpose. Parks are kind of a public purpose. But this area sort of expanded to include a lot of things, including pipelines and power lines. They're considered to be public purposes now. And those, create a lot of anger for people because a pipeline company is a for-profit entity. It's not a government. Pipelines make money, a lot of money, and they're given this sort of extraordinary power to install pipelines and take people's land to do so. And that's because we have decided as a society that the provision of energy is also a public purpose. So energy and resources and the movement of energy and resources is a public purpose now in our society, and that allows them to take. So oil, gas, roads, parks, railroads, all public purposes. One of the things that comes up sometimes is, can a government agency, and this sounds totally contradictory to what we know in the United States. In the United States, we kind of figure, well, we own land, and I'm going to be a little cynical here, I think, in this next piece. Like, we own land, and you can't take our land. Well, if anything eminent domain has taught me is that you really don't own anything. The government owns everything, and they're allowed to take whatever they want. So for sometimes arbitrary reasons. So for instance, you may say, well, the government may just say one day, Ben, you have a nice house, but I'm going to take your house and I'm going to give it to Lilly so they can build a new lab. Or I'm going to give it to Simon Malls because Simon needs to build a new mall. And you may say, well, that's ridiculous, right? Why you get to take my land and then give it to another third party to do a commercial project? That can't be right. Well, you'd be wrong. They can do that. The Supreme Court said back in the Kelo case that governments can take your land and give it to a third party for commercial uses so they can make money off of your land, so long as it's an economic benefit to the general population. And this economic benefit test, I'm highly critical of it because the economic benefits are not something you can obviously point to and say it's going to be an economic benefit. It's kind of like when they build a brand new stadium and spend several $billion building a brand new football stadium, and they argue economic benefit. Well, these are all just sort of really squishy numbers. Nobody really knows what the economic benefit is. Certainly the economic benefit is to the person building the facility and who gets to own it afterwards. So they get to build, the Supreme Court of the United States has said that's something that can be allowed. Now, there was a huge reaction to this case. All the states, all 50 states passed their own law saying, hey, whoa, pump the brakes on that. We are not going to allow the state of, like, for example, the state of Indiana to take Ben's land through eminent domain and then give it to Simon Malls. So Simon can build a new mall. That we're not going to allow that. So Indiana, along with all 50 states, has some reaction to that. But the federal law of the land right now, the Supreme Court's law of the land, is that's allowed. But the states have curtailed that to varying degrees in the different states. So we've seen that here in Indiana, where and other jurisdictions as well, where folks have sort of where condemners have tried to take private land and give it to third-party commercial uses, and we fought that both in Fort Wayne and in northern Indiana. So it does happen, but generally public purpose, and generally 99% of the time, whatever the state is doing is going to be allowed. And I think that's a big takeaway here. Absent all my discussion about Kelo and sort of the outrage associated with that, the idea is that in almost every instance, the state is taking for a valid purpose and will have a right to take. I know that was a lot. I basically gave you also about 10 years of legal theory there in like 5 minutes. So there's a lot more to dig into there, Ben. But does that raise any other questions?
Yeah. So let's say you have two similar cases. One is being taken for like public use, or one and the other's being taken for economic benefit. Would you get like better just compensation for the economic benefit one because it's being given to a private owned company?
Yeah, in Indiana, it's a really good question. In Indiana, part of the test, if you're going to take it and give it to somebody for economic benefit, is that there's additional compensation provided to the landowner. But Indiana, like a lot of states, has made it extraordinarily difficult to do this. There's a large list of tests that they have to qualify for before they can take somebody's private land and give it to like a Simon Malls or some other developer. But if it does pass all these tests and all these hoops you have to jump through, then there is additional money for the landowner as well. So yeah, good question. By statute, attorney fees, et cetera. Yeah, it's a pretty powerful statute. And I think that's very similar in all the 50 states, right? We've run into this issue a couple of times in other jurisdictions, and similar laws exist in all the 50 states. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, thanks. Great question today. Really good discussion. Ben will put up some information about how to contact me if you want to reach out after the video's over. All I do all day really is answer questions like this for clients and prospects and folks that want to reach out. So feel free to give me a call or send me an email, and we'll be happy to answer your main questions. Thanks for joining us, and have a great day.